This is Klevgrand's new Elpiano. I was really hyped to test this one out because I was hoping that Klevgrand, one of my favorite plugin developers, would make another E-piano or even grand piano at some point. And now they made a E-piano plugin called Elpiano. It's actually a collection of currently 10 different electric piano models, and they are all algorithmic, so I don't think there are really any samples involved here, which isn't really what I expected from Klevgrand, because usually they're really good with samples, and I'm still hoping to see maybe a grand piano at some point that is sampled by Klevgrand. Anyways, this is Elpiano, and we just heard some models. The first impressions I had when playing with it were a bit so-so, but now that I've played with it a bit more, I'm really starting to like it more and more. Why were my impressions so-so at first? One reason could be because I was working with the demo version, which cuts out audio every couple of seconds, and I really didn't like the experience. I never really got into a flow, and it was really difficult to get in the zone of enjoying the sounds and playing with them. Also, on this keyboard, for example, or on the one I have at home, it's not as fun to play as on this one. Like with this plugin, the difference is really huge to me. Another reason why I maybe didn't love it on first impression was that I thought many of these models maybe sounded a bit too similar. Let's see, for example, Go Town, Skyline, Precious. Not the same, right? Not exactly the same. Silky Way sounds very similar again to Skyline. What about Unicorny? Even this one, they're all very comparable to the level where to me it doesn't really make sense to call them different models. It would make more sense to me to have controls to fade between the different algorithms. Like if we compare this to Wurlitzer by Audio Thing. You have many deep controls here that are very intuitive, and you can kind of create your own Wurlitzer sound within seconds, and you have a larger variety than you have within Elpiano to an extent. There's also a Wurlitzer in here, but to me it doesn't even really sound that authentic as a Wurlitzer. Let's just compare some Wurlitzers, I guess. It does kind of sound like a Wurlitzer, but there's also something in it that to me sounds kind of Tynesy, Rhodesy, just with some of the underlying algorithm settings tweaked. And all of these three are modeled and not sample based. So yes, these models to me are a bit kind of even superfluous maybe, but all in all, Elpiano does still offer a satisfying play experience and a nice sound. Maybe not as authentic as some other models, or maybe not as authentic as some sample-based offerings. But like this Go Town is definitely supposed to be a Rhodes. And definitely a possible Rhodes at that. Elpiano does have a pretty good effects section. For example, I really like what they did with the cabinet. You can turn it off, then we have more of a DI sound. Back to the cabinet. And we can turn this into a stereo cabinet with two microphones, simulated microphones. And we can change the type of cabinet. This was a hi-fi, but there's also like a small guitar cab, a medium guitar cab, large guitar cab, and there's also a toy speaker. There's a basic EQ right here, and also a drive control. my favorite part of the effects section are these 4 different effects down here, and specifically the width control every one of those has. Let's hear the vibrato, for example, with the width turned down to 0. Turn down the drive again. Just the vibrato as we know, but we can offset the vibrato on the left and right channel to get a nice and wide sound just from the vibrato. I think that's very cool. And we have this width offset with every module. Let's hear just the tremolo. That's kind of a classic E piano effect, a bit higher depth maybe. A bit slower. I think this is really well designed. Easy to use, easy to set up, phaser. Chorus. So if you're looking for kind of already processed electric piano sounds with effects that maybe aren't 100% authentic, you're definitely going to be happy with this one. There's also a nice selection of presets. Let's hear some of those. Let's combine Elpiano with some drum grooves from OneShot. Are there basses in Tomofon? Does it make sense to layer another Elpiano on top of it? That was sick. Retrospective record, please. Some Borsta? That's it. Thanks for watching. See you again soon.